game industry where tools start out being kind of atomized and they do certain things automatically, but then there's other functionality that every game maker has to kind of build from scratch. And so there's a lot of reinventing the wheel that people have to do in that industry. And over time, what makes sense, and there are precedents for this in the industry, what makes sense is to look for those wheels that keep getting reinvented and just do it right the first time and make it available as a service. And so kind of Metaverse as a service is one of the things that we're aiming for.
And you yourself, you planning to develop one yourself or build one yourself. Can you give us some idea of how that will look like?
Yeah, in the game industry, there's a distinction commonly made between first-party and third-party content, which implies there must be second-party content too. But you don't hear as much about that. But third-party is anyone. If you're, say, you're Epic and you make a game engine. Well, the whole point of a game engine is that anyone who wants can pick it up and use it to make a game. That would be third party. But Epic makes Fortnite. They make multiple in-house games, which is called first party. And the advantages to having some first party content are that you get to kind of dog food your own product. You've got rapid internal communication between people who are actually using it and running into things that need fixing, coming up with new ideas for features. So it's dog fooding as well as hopefully being a successful product in its own right. So I've got some ideas that I intend to pursue once this thing gets up on its feet and once we're ready to go.
But it's not going to be the metaverse you described in your book. So,
well, the metaverse in the book is a million different things, right? And so the only way to make that is to again give makers what they need to make what they want. The specific thing that I've got in mind for first-party content is sort of based on sequel and prequel material to the novel that has come into existence over the last few years. I've just been kind of digging around with it in my spare time, and I think that the book is written as a book, and it's a book I'm proud of, but it's not necessarily the most natural fit for immediate conversion into an interactive experience. If what you want to do is make an actual interactive experience, it's maybe better to start with something new, can be in the same IP universe, but it's intended from the start to support some kind of interactive experience.
So you mentioned blockchain. There will be a token sale, if I understand your white paper correctly. I mean, what do you say to skeptics who say, Neal is now going full Kim Kardashian?
Yeah, it's probably the first and last time in my life that I've been confused with Kim Kardashian. So I don't know how to take that. There is not a plan for a sale. But we're not doing an ICO, so be clear on that. I'm in a really odd position in life, which is that everywhere I look at places like this, I see this word that I coined some years ago. So the question is what to do about it. You know, I could go off and just be a hermit, and ignore all of this, or I could try to engage with it in hopefully a productive way. So this is me doing that. It certainly, makes things interesting that it's happening in the midst of the crypto winter, but in the big scheme of things, I'd rather launch at the bottom during the winter when it's most difficult than at the crest of the wave. I think it's a healthier place to start.
Good answer, but let's talk a bit more about economics. This is the economist after all. I mean, you told me that you want to create a platform that helps creators, kind of makes life easier or easy for creators, allows them to make money. Wonder how you want to achieve that. So you're not going to take 30% of the transactions. I take it then.
Well, all chains charge what are called gas fees in order to keep the system running, but the main sort of revenue model is not to charge anything beyond that. When you see a game, I keep referring to games because whether or not it's a game, if you're building something in the metaverse, you're using game technology. It's going to be built using a game engine and using the tool chain that game makers use to build assets and link them together. So when you see a conventional video game that's on the market today, every asset, so-called, in that game was created by a team that was hired or contracted by the company that made the game. And so the intellectual property situation is very clear. All of the intellectual property in that game is owned by whoever paid for it, assuming that they did all the legal paperwork correctly. And that's fine because each game is a kind of hermetically sealed entity that doesn't doesn't have surface area to interact with other games. Things get a little blurrier when in some games we have what's called UGC, or user-generated content. These are all familiar acronyms and terms to people in games, so I'm going to spell them out because I'm guessing not everyone here is a game person. But UGC is the practice in games of allowing your users to make their own add-ons to the game, and typically it's things like a hat that you can wear, a costume, or a building that you can assemble. What's going to happen in the metaverse is that is going to be blown wide open because we're going to be moving back and forth between multiple experiences that are created and hosted by different people. And if you walk into another experience wearing an avatar, wearing an outfit, carrying a prop, a weapon, whatever, you've immediately created this huge intellectual property mishmash that existing payment systems aren't that well equipped to handle. There's work being done in the industry on new kinds of smart contracts that'll help address this sort of problem. And the gist of it is that if I post an asset on a blockchain, then someone else might link back to it and add on additional functionality to that asset, and over time, that asset can develop a kind of identity of its own, a provenance. If it's a sword that somebody uses to slay a notorious monster on a Twitch stream that's being watched by 100,000 people, then suddenly that becomes a special, unique object in the metaverse, and it's the backstory of how it came to be there should be embedded in its identity and confer value and uniqueness on it. We think that in the metaverse we're going to have both fiat currency and cryptocurrency because that's how it is in everywhere else. but that there's some features of cryptocurrency, smart contracts, and so on that are particularly well adapted to handling these kinds of intricate intellectual property relationships that are just going to start happening automatically, whether we like it or not, when large-scale metaverse applications come into general use.
Great. Unfortunately, we have 30 seconds left, so I'm going to finish with a more, let's say, political and sociological question. So, I mean, Snow Crash is a very prescient book in many ways, not just the metaverse. And the other thing, what I think is rather prescient, is the concept of Snow Crash. So, kind of a neuro-linguistic virus. You see a screen, you suffer brain damage, kind of all the civilization goes out of the window. And in a way, we have that. I mean, it's not Snow Crash, it's social media.
Yeah.
And I wonder, kind of, yes, that's a problem now, but won't it be even more of a problem in the metaverse?
Yeah, the two big things I worry about are that and carbon. I'm trying to work on carbon because it's more of a technical problem that I'm better suited for. The problem of the way that our polity has gotten fractured into different groups that have different perceptions of reality, and the way that fracturing is being exploited by bad actors is indeed incredibly troubling, and I don't feel I personally have a good tool set to address it. I don't see why the metaverse per se is going to make that any worse than any other medium that's currently being exploited by those people. I do think that the revenue model of social media can exacerbate these kinds of problems, because if the way you get revenue is by making people click on things, it turns out a good way to make people click on things is to show them things that make them very upset. And I'm hoping that what we see in the metaverse is less of that and more of just a straight, transparent fee-for-service kind of economy, similar to what we have like on a game store now. If you go to the Steam game store, the Epic game store, you want to buy a game, you just give them some of your money, you have the game, end of story. That is the whole transaction, and there's less of a built-in economic incentive to be providing eyeballs with content that is inherently upsetting or divisive.
Great, thank you very much. That was indeed a highlight. I hope to see you again and interview in the metaverse next time. Okay.
Yeah, maybe.